good afternoon to you, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Mervyn Williams. You're tuned to Nation Watch. Welcome to today's edition, today, 27th April 2025. As we go closer and closer to elections 2025, Guyana is going closer and closer to being a state of anarchy. Guyana is in a complete mess. We're going to be discussing that. I know that we had advertised the leader's participation in today's program. It is rather unfortunate that he had to attend to some extremely important matters pertaining to our country and is therefore unavoidably unavailable at this time. We have nonetheless two very capable guests whom I will introduce shortly. But before I do, I want to pay a visit to Region 1. Recently, the hospital that was constructed at Port Kaituma by the APNU AFC administration was declared open by the People's Progressive Party. Excuse me. To facilitate the opening of that hospital and to present some sort of impressive display. Equipment, including X-ray machines and so on, were transferred from Marabaruma to Port Kaituma. Talking about health, I'm choking here. Maybe I need some medical help, but it wouldn't be coming from Marabaruma because the equipment from Marabaruma was transported to Port Kaituma, and all the photo ops were taken. And then when all the government officials left, the regional chairman transported those bits of equipment back to the Marabaruma Regional Hospital. So the newly opened Port Kaituma Hospital is functioning without some basic equipment. This is, I suppose, development, as they they call it. Over to Marabaruma. We extend condolences to the family and relatives of Mr. Mervyn Singh, now deceased, former chairman of the Region 1 Regional Administration. Mr. Singh was a member of the People's Progressive Party, and he was the regional chairman. And I understand some very sweeping concessions are being made for now the late Mr. Mervyn Singh. I understand that they're going to cremate Mr. Singh in the cemetery at Marabaruma, where there are homes nearby. People are deeply concerned about their health, they're concerned about the environment, and they're concerned about the safety of people in general and children in particular, as well as the elderly who live nearby. We are unaware as it relates to relevant approval or approval from relevant agencies for the cremation of Mr. Singh in that open space close to those homes. I understand that they have graded up an area that was once a cholera burial ground. The medical professionals will tell you that when it comes to the burial of persons who were afflicted with cholera, that there are some serious risks involved in the excavation of such burial sites. And these are all issues that are troubling for the people of Marabaruma, even as they continue to grapple with the recent situation of torture of the Waro gentlemen in the Marabaruma police station, those gentlemen who were from the line in Botero. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very dark cloud hanging over our country at this time. An 11-year-old child lost her life under very, very brutal circumstances. And the level of importance we place on our women and girls tells of the nature of the society that we're shaping. And the expressions of sorrow continue to be poured out. We've had vigils in the United States. We've had prayer services at Tushin. We've had prayer services at the Namstel. We've had picketing exercises at the office of the president, outside the Leonora police station, outside the premises where the body was discovered, also at Belladrum in Region 5, among other places. And you know, they say, who feels it knows it. I looked at the way Mr. Ali interacted with family members, and it really hurt me as a father, because I too have daughters, that a man who could lament the fact that his son fell and hurt his arm in the Rupununi a few days ago, not just lament, but Mr. Ali made this child's fall and injury to his arm a campaign issue, a political issue, an issue that allowed him to praise the regional health officials for immediately springing into action and helping his son. And it seems to me and many others as though if his son had not suffered injury while he was in the Rupununi, no ambulance would have been given to any village in Region 9. But because his son injured himself, and I empathize with the little child and with his parents. But the political side of Mr. Ali, I cannot excuse. I cannot excuse. He used his son's injury as a political platform from which to launch high praise for what he considered his government's accomplishment in the health sector. He used his son's injury as a launching pad for ensuring that ambulances were given to some regions. Had his son not benefited from the health care of those people who felt beholden to him to do their best in the worst possible circumstances, no village would have gotten an ambulance in Region 9. And while Mr. Ali was in Region 9, while he was at the government guest house in Lethem, the entire army barracks surrounded that place. The entire police station was on that location. Even a fire tender, ladies and gentlemen, a fire tender, a huge water bowser was in front of that building when the president was in it. A helicopter waited on him at the airstrip, as did the Guyana Defense Force fixed-wing aircraft. And all of the attention the first child of this country required was available as though in service to a king. I'm happy that the youngster benefited from the available treatment. But I'm offended that ordinary citizens cannot similarly benefit. I am hurt that a child died and Mr. Ali's empathy was invisible in the face of a national tragedy. But it was alive and well when his son fell and hurt his arm. All body belly are hot for them own picnic. Understand, Mr. President, the hurt of mothers in this country because of the death, the murder of this little child, Adriana Young. Ladies and gentlemen, I will introduce to you two young women, both members of the executive of the People's National Congress Reform, Miss Robin Simon, who hails from the East Coast and who is our people's representative in that general area, and elected executive member of the People's National Congress Reform, and Ms. Coretta MacDonald, who is also an elected member of the executive and who serves as a member of parliament in this soon to be dissolved Parliament of Guyana. Ladies, I'd like to welcome you to Nation Watch at this very trying time of our country's history. Welcome.
Well, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for that welcome. Good afternoon to your viewers. It's quite a trying time. I'm not usually a person lost for words, but I found over the last couple of days, two things have been happening to me. One, I have difficulty sleeping, and two, I don't have, I can't find words to say what I want to see and how to say what I want to say. Like you said rightfully, there's a dark cloud that is hanging over this country. And that dark cloud is beginning to make its way on the people or to fall on our people. So persons, resident citizens themselves are getting dark at this time. They are feeling dark and they are behaving dark, and rightfully so. In many, many instances, if we were to count the many, many occurrences that we would have had in this, with issues happening in this country, persons do have a right to be dark or to get dark, quote unquote, as that they're saying that is going around now. And it's very frightening, very, very frightening.
You ladies are both mothers. I, some years ago, had to play that same role. And I know how difficult it is. Um, but just before we get into this conversation proper, I want to bring to viewers' attention how deep the hurt is in some people, to the extent that an aunt of the deceased young young lady spoke to the president of this country addressing his insincerity, and she was in very difficult circumstances, very, very respectful. I'd like to go to that clip.
Is in terms of what took place on the road. As you're aware, I have no objections because we all want justice. All want to get to the truth of this. Persons can do so peacefully, and they can, but blocking the road for hours is something that
Mr.
affects all the
Ali,
citizens.
I saw you blocking road. Yes, Mr. Ali.
I'm just telling you.
Mr. Ali, there are videos with you protesting,
ma'am,
you being a scrape and a tug. Mr. Ali,
ma'am.
this is not, listen, sometimes we gotta put our position aside.
No, this is not position.
We gotta put our position aside and place ourselves into people's shoes. You gotta understand, even those persons who were traveling, yes, they were inconvenienced, but they understood the reason. They understood the reason. We understand the inconvenience, but those people understand.
I totally agree. I totally in support, and we will never ever not support peaceful protests. Never.
Here is a gentleman who is the epitome of insincerity. He never once made eye contact with the people that he was there to empathize with. He denied being associated with protest. He asked me, reminded me of another gentleman when the name Sue was raised. But I believe we can have a look at actual evidence of Irfan Ali in protest mode.
That is it. The bottom line here is that Guyana is in a state of dictatorship. And we are not going to allow this dictatorship. We are not going to allow this dictatorship to trample on the people. We have to stand up. We have to protect this country from this dictatorship that is on the now. And that is what we are fighting for now. It is not only to uphold the Constitution, it's fighting a dictator and a dictatorship that has engulfed our country. That is what we're doing now. This is the barrier to freedom. Yes. This is the barrier to injustice. And this is the barrier that is protecting a dictatorship in this country. Yes. This barrier is protecting a dictatorship. This barrier is keeping our peaceful people from standing up against a dictatorship. That is why these barriers are here. Today, this is the barrier that is safeguarding and securing a dictatorship in this country. That is what is happening today. Peaceful people are prevented to stand up for their rights against a dictatorship. And the barriers that should protect us as citizens is used to protect a dictatorship today. Shame on what is happening.
Right. He's right. Mr. Ali is right. Guyana is in a state of dictatorship. He is right again when he says that he has erected barriers to freedom and that there are barriers insulating a dictatorship. But there's another very important clip which I hope we can find when Mr. Ali led demonstrators at the Pegasus Hotel, not just to prevent the entry of a sitting minister to the premises, but attempting to overturn the vehicle with the minister sitting in it. And I'd like viewers, if you can find this, I'd like our viewers to pay very keen attention to the disposition of the policemen on site and to see how they, in fact, reacted to the demonstrators. It is instructive to note that there was no police officer attempting to restrain anyone or physically engaging anyone. You can see from the footage that there was in fact no gun in the hand of any police officer. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have seen the insincerity of a gentleman who holds the highest office of this land. Correct? Maybe I can start with you here. We have witnessed the anger of the residents of the Essequibo Islands, West Demerara, Region 3, because of a rather unusual position taken by security forces in the region. A child went missing. A child went missing on a premises. The parents wanted to have the premises searched to locate the child because the child was not seen after she left to go to a washroom, reportedly. The pool was there, the water is clear, nobody was in it. That's according to the reports. Eventually, when the police got to the scene, the reports are that the police were in fact taking up a posture of protecting the business premises, denying people the right to access and denying the request for searching. we know what happened later, and we saw the anger of the people being manifested in the streets. But here comes Mr. Ali to say to people that this is wrong and it wouldn't be condoned. And this is after he made a statement that there will be consequences for what he termed a political protest. And here's a lady saying to him, the people who were inconvenienced while trying to go home understand that this is what they were doing, and that they were in fact they're objecting to the manner in which the state agencies were treating this very important matter. Talk to us.
Well, Marvin, let me say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. One step. That one step was denied on Wednesday of last week. That one step. And I'm saying that to say, even in our own homes, if something goes missing, then we pull all the relevant parties in. Let me put it closer. As a teacher in the classroom, if a child reports that he or she loses their money, if they lose their money, then you know what happens? Nobody is allowed to leave that class. And the teacher would ask, put everything that you have on the desk. Take out everything from your bag and your pockets and put them on the desk. Stand. If when you search there you can't find it, then the teacher would say, stand. Take off your shoes. Take off your socks. Now, I am saying that to say, if the police had employed standard operational procedures, that young lady might have been alive today. And this stupid talk about every time you have to speak about what is right, and you have to upbraid this government for their wrongdoing, you hear it's political. It's political. But we just saw some clips where Irfan Ali, when he stood there in opposition, and he was in front, he was the leading person in front. That was not political. Who must go? Granger must go. When they prevented the minister from entering the Pegasus Hotel there, prevented our vehicle from moving. As a matter of fact, we can go as far back to David Patterson when he, as a minister, he had to park his vehicle way out, the driver had to go, and he had to walk. And even then they were preventing him, but it was not political then. And it is just sad that every time you have to highlight a wrongdoing, it is given a political swing. The PPP government are known for doing that. It is political. We had the GTU strike with the teachers, and it was deemed political. But whenever GAU go out there and call their members out, it is not political. And so the inconsistencies with all of these issues that we have is what is creating the problem for us in our country. The salary you receive is political. Whatever you go out there to purchase in the stores, it is political, because the political factors are the one who set the pace, and that's how you have the prices on those things. And so we have to get away from that. But you know what? I think the PPP they still feel that we're living in the 80s and the 90s, where they could continue to comfuffle, if that's the correct word I'm using, people's mind into thinking that this is so and that is so. But you know what? You've said it. Every cow cries for its own calf. And so the residents in Region 3, residents or citizens from Region 4, and as far as Region 5 were there on Thursday. And it wasn't a case of Black, it was a case of Guyanese crying out for justice. It was a case where Guyanese were saying, this could have been prevented. What we've seen here unfolding again is the incompetence of the PPP government. It's not the first time. And so we've gotten this coming from the top, and like the old saying says, what falls from the head it doesn't go far, it drops on the shoulder, then it rallies its way down. And so if the president could lie to this nation, well, he's not vice president, if Jagdio could lie to this nation, you remember when Jagdio told us that he was married? I mean, we have to bring all of these in. And he was not. And so it's the kind of dishonesty that they practice at the top that filters right down. And so we got a bold statement that this young girl, this baby, our child, was seen moving away in a ram, a red and brown or something like that. And then you heard she was seen at Stewartville by some bus shed. But whatever transpired there, she ended up dead in a pool. I don't know how she reached there because she went out. And
More
so
like her dead body ended up in a pool.
her dead body ended up in a pool. Maybe I wish we may have to be careful with again, because don't forget, in the 2020 elections, we had the dead people voting. So it seems as if, dead persons are surfacing again. They're walking around. I am not going to say what transpired that caused her death and caused her to be returned to the pool, but we know exactly what transpired there. But I'm just putting this out there to say maybe because of what they said to us, that the young lady left with a vehicle, and maybe when after she was murdered or whatever there, her dead body found its way back to this location. This here is ridiculous. And there is I don't see anywhere or any time that we should be saying persons should not go out there to voice their displeasure. We should not be saying that. Again, Irfan Ali, when his son broke his arm, he felt for his son. Why is it that people should not feel for a little 11 innocent child who went there for a bit of relaxation? I figure, her grandmother thought that, okay, she was working so hard preparing for NGSA, what we call then common entrance.
Which she just wrote.
Just finished writing. So her grandmother thought, she needed to have some time to relax. Let me take them out there for some form of relaxation. And that innocent child, it's not an easy pill to swallow. And I want to say that we are not going to swallow this pill. We will get to the bottom of it. And if Jagdio and Irfan and whoever else want to deem this as being political, then you're free to do so.
Mr. Ali made his son's injury a political issue, but condemns people who stand in solidarity with a family that lost their eldest child, 11-year-old, who had just finished writing common entrance, who is loved by the entire community and who's looked out for by the entire community, to the extent that she disappeared for a short while and they became so worried. And Mr. Ali believes that standing up with that family is political. It is a tragedy. Before we're going to make a slight shift around here, MP Nima Flu-Bess will be joining us. And as we make some room for Nima, there is a bit of material that came to light that could help this conversation to stand. I trust that we can bring that bit of recording. Now, what you just saw there, what you just saw before this other clip came up, is the riot police in 11th Street, Virgin Nugent, East Bank, Essequibo, one village away from Tushan. And that was Friday night. And what you're seeing here is an example of what that exercise resulted in. This is the foot of a gentleman that is packed with pellets from a shotgun from the police on Friday night in 11th Street, Virgin Nugent. The report Nation Watch received is that several other persons sustained similar injury, but no one is prepared to go to the hospital to receive treatment for fear of consequences beyond what the law permits. Now, this exercise that you just saw there is a rather interesting one. It is one where if you listen to the recording of the first video, you will hear someone telling people to get off the street. Now, no loudspeaker was used. So I don't know how far a person's voice, natural voice, can be heard, but they're saying to the citizens of that area to get off the street. Now, I'd like you to know that if the police is going to take the kind of action that they took there are procedures that are prerequisite to such an operation. There's got to be a proclamation. This is not a state of emergency. This is not an official curfew because there was no executive order regarding a curfew. And the nature of this operation is one where there has to be a proclamation. It has to be read. It has to be announced throughout the village regarding what time you need to get off the street. You have 15 minutes within which to comply with that order. Now, if that order is read and you fail to comply within the designated 15 minutes, then you as a citizen commit an offense. In this case, there was no proclamation. There was an invasion of the village, and there was high-handed action taken by the police in what I and others consider contravention of the law, resulting in injury to people. I'd like that clip of the operation in action to be played again so that people can hear what is being said. Persons were being told to get off the road, and persons were responding by saying, "We live right here." That in itself tells you what was happening. And this is a police operation by persons outside of the division. This is the riot brigade, and this is what happened. Robin, your take on this entire thing. Now, remember that in 1993, I don't know how old you were then. I don't even know if you were around then because you're still looking like 15. But in 1993, Monica Reese, a young security guard, died. Her lifeless body was tossed out of the back of a moving 4x4 open back pickup. That case remains unsolved, among countless others. But I raised that one because this is a young woman. There were commitments made by several commissioners of police that this matter will be solved, that people will be prosecuted. And this matter remains cold, although there are rumors all over the place that the perpetrator, as alleged, is known. 3 years ago, I believe this matter was 30 years old at the time. It's 33. Somebody help me. I can't count. Right? The crime chief 3 years ago said that this matter will be solved. He is the crime chief today. And commitments are being made to solve this murder, which the president now says is a political issue. How do we reconcile?
First of all, let me say good afternoon, Mr. Morgan. Thank you for having us. Good afternoon to the viewers. You know, the Bible says to wait and know that I am God. And the Bible also says he will give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. All that is happening today, all the unsolved matters, unsolved mysteries, all that is happening today in this country is because we are being ruled by a government who does not care about the people of this country. Their focus is on their friends, their family, their favorites, their hanging partners, and the whole 9 yards. I would not waste my time this afternoon to talk about the unsolved mysteries that has gone. I'm going to look at our beautiful young lady, an 11-year-old child, who has lost her life. Only God can say how everything went down in that room, allegedly. Only God can say how. Because I know that nobody's going to come out and tell us that this is what happened and this is what happened. But I am going to say this. The Guyana police force is always noted for covering up things for their friends or those who they believe in. The same Guyana police force, members within the Guyana police force, elements within the Guyana police force. Remember, these people swore to protect us. They swore an oath to protect us as a nation. And we are sitting out here as citizens of this beautiful country. We have to now study how to protect ourselves, how to protect our children. This young lady now is being used by the members within the Guyana Police Force, elements, the commissioner and the whole set of them, to talk now about things that they will put in place, things that were supposed to be in place from day one. And they acted at that very moment when this child was, when the grandmother noticed that this child is missing. We would not have been in this today, but they always, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to always talk about Quindon. When Quindon died, the same elements within the Guyana Police Force gave 3 different statements regarding the death, the shooting, the shooting or the killing of Quindon. 3 different statements. So there is no trust. We cannot trust the police force. We cannot trust them to investigate nothing, to solve nothing. We are not going to put our life on bet or rest assured that things are going to come out of no unsolved mystery or murders that they haven't solved, or that murders that were not solved or are not solved as yet. There is no way we're going to sit down and allow them to play with our minds. It is no way. The Guyana Police Force has been doing this for years. Under the Granger's administration, the APNU, AFC coalition government, we had peace in this country. The police force of the officers, they had respect for citizens. Citizens had respect for them. What is happening now?
Corruption.
It is corruption all over the place, confusion all over the place. And all of this is coming because the sitting government is not a responsible government.
Let me say what is really political in this whole scenario. What is political in this scenario are disagreements between Jagdeo and Ali. Let me explain. I've been an activist in Region 3 for more than 25 years. I know Mr. Mandel. It's my business to know the people of my region. I know the work that Mandel has done for the PPP. There's no secret what his political affiliations are. And the relationship between that young man and Mr. Ali is what is causing problems for Mr. Jagdeo. And so there's a battle. Ali says, keep him. Jagdeo says he must go. It's no coincidence that he was asked to take the fall and Hicken is still there. Hicken has done more for the PPP than he has. And thus, therefore, Hicken has got to be protected.
Facts.
And he, even if he takes the ultimate fall, he will be taken care of by the PPP. Were they to remain in government, and they're not going to remain in government. And this incident and the manner in which they've handled it, and the manner in which they're handling it, is causing people to reject them more and more. And that's what is political about this. So for Mr. What did the lady call him? A scrape and a thug?
Scrape and a tug.
You see, Mervyn. You see, you see, Mervyn. Only when you're placed in a situation, when the shoes is on your feet, you will understand. Ali is not feeling this because this is not his daughter. This is not his son. He is going to go about this normal. It is alleged when we were over on the west side, Tushin, everybody around there keep on saying, this place is a place where the president will have or keep his private parties or functions, where all of them will go and wine and dine and drink and have a good time. The owners of this hotel is the president's friend. They are friends, all of them in high places, right down to the Guyana Police Force members. They all go there.
That they are friends is true. And that they had run-ins with Jagdeo before is also true.
Everybody goes
Jagdeo,
there.
as president of the country, issued instructions for the demolition of a
the
play
bridge.
park
And the bridge.
that Mr.
Ropes and bend.
Bola had set up on the reserve on the other side of the road.
Mhm.
So, and when that happened, he came to me. And we had conversations, so I know the entire story. So the owner of the hotel had a run-in with Jagdeo when he was president.
And, don't
And
forget-
he now is a friend of the sitting president. And that's what's political.
And that is why no clear investigation, we do not and we will not trust it.
And don't forget, it was Robeson Ben under Jagdeo who broke the bridge down.
And-
Remember, he had that kissing bridge there.
That was his second breaking.
So
The first
yes,
one was
so-
across the road.
So we kind of understand what is happening, but I want to say, Marvin, I don't know how these people sleep at nights. A child is reported missing, and the commander would leave where he is to come to this premises to stand guard there to protect this premises, where the people there kept shouting, "This child never left. This child never left." And rather than you using, I wonder if this man got child, if he got a child or if he got children. I mean, it is hard for me to understand how you can love your child or your children and you can't love other people's children. But let me say this. While we are going to continue to talk about Adriana's death, We have to continue to clamor for all the other unsolved ones. Remember, we had Minister Satadio Saw, a PPP minister, died during their time in government. And I'm saying this to say that they have been incompetent since then.
Let's talk about appeasement. Mrs. Saw was offered a foreign service job and a ticket out of this country instead of a full investigation with an outcome that is satisfactory
Exactly.
in terms of the in terms of its justice sense.
Exactly.
So here again we're talking about, if you look at what happened in Madhya,
With the 20.
if you look at what happened in Madhya, where 20 people died, 19 young ladies and a youngster, a young boy. The government stepped in and said, sign here, and we'll give you $5 million. We're talking about an exercise minus due process. We're talking about compensation without any sort of assessment, investigation, conclusion, or anything of that sort. In fact, we're talking about compensation which followed a crime scene that was compromised by the presence of a prime minister. I don't know if Guyana still has a prime minister.
And the Minister of Education.
And the Minister of Education was there. Do we still have a prime minister? I don't know. Somebody needs to tell me in the comment section whether we do or not.
But you know, Marvin, let me stop.
No, hold a second here. Hold a second here. And that kind of so-called compensation is nothing but an appeasement to get people to shut up, because indigenous peoples are poor. They, according to some, they live in squalor. According to some, and according to international reports, indigenous population of Guyana is the most impoverished. And so $5 million for the loss of your child is not an issue for this government. They don't care. In the case of the Saturday Saw murder, his wife was offered a job in the foreign service. Appeasement. In the case of, was it Quindon Bacchus, who fought, his relatives fought in court and got a compensation package.
And they appealed it.
And the government again decided they were going to appeal it. And then some bright person decided to call it off. This is the problem that we have. This is the problem that we have. And in this case, a man holding the highest office in the land comes and says, this has become political, there will be consequences, and we got people in the comment section talking about criminals cooking in front of the police station. If they're criminals, they'll be in jail, you fool. Clearly, anybody who makes such a stupid statement does not come from a mother. Clearly. We're going to make room for Nima to join us. I hope she's here. Nima is very active in these areas. Hi Nima, welcome to Nation Watch. Why are you staying in the car? You should be in the video.
Good afternoon. Nice to be on the show. Sorry that I'm in the car, but I'm listening to my comrades. I'm listening to you guys, and I feel so sad in my heart.
How was church today, Nima?
I feel really sad.
How was the congregation's reaction today to the prayer session in church for this little angel who was ascended?
The prayer session was good. You know, I was out there last night also, the prayer session that they had at Tushin, and we did the same at church today. I can tell you a lot of people are hurting. You see it in the faces of people. You hear it in their voices. Like Coretta, I'm unable to sleep since this incident occurred. It's really a challenge to lie at night and to sleep as a parent. And then being around the parents and hearing the father express how he feels. It's really mind-boggling, and it's really irritating to know that the powers that be doesn't seem necessary to have this issue resolved as early as possible. We're calling for justice for little Adriana.
What do you see as the path to justice? We know that the family has rejected the Irfan Ali nominated pathologist. We understand that he lacks the official credentials to do what he claims he has the capacity for doing, and they have resorted instead for another independent pathologist. And the mother of the deceased child is demanding the involvement of the FBI in these investigations, making it clear that the family does not trust the Guyana police force to investigate itself. What do you see as the path to justice?
Well, the path to justice is, first of all, the last minute move of removing the officers who were involved in the initial run up to these things. We should have seen a more swift action on that. At least have them relocated, or stay in the office or something until the investigation is done. And secondly, of course, we cannot trust the Guyana police, or as I would say, political force. So to have an investigation done by that agency, of course, will not bring the justice that is truly deserving in this particular incident. So I agree with the family seeking to have independent bodies look for solace in the outcome. That's the only way. They are the political force, no.
I am of the view that one of the things that is necessary is an independent investigation of the Guyana police force. What say you, Coretta?
Well, Marvin, we have seen the operations of the Guyana Police Force time and time and time again. And of course, it's important for us to remind the viewers of these things. We just recently,
Mhm.
young men were shot in Linden.
Mhm.
The first young man, we heard that the policemen were dressed in uniform, and the young man saw them, and the young man attempted to scale a fence. When the video was released, the camera footage was released, we saw something totally different. Quindon Bacchus, we heard that Quindon Bacchus was shooting back at them.
Mhm.
When the footage was shown, we saw something different.
And we
We
learned that
saw
a gun couldn't be fired.
we saw
Mhm.
we saw the issue with Orrin Boston.
Yes.
When the wife revealed what transpired, the young man was asleep, he had his brief on, he was sleeping. And we can go on and on and on. And so this is saying to us that we cannot trust anything that comes from the Guyana Police Force, which means that we've got to, and I agree with you fully, that the Guyana Police Force must be investigated. We must have a complete, and coming out of this investigation should lead to a complete overhauling of the Guyana Police Force, because too many criminal elements are being shielded in the Guyana Police Force. We've had police officers in the Guyana Police Force, some of them still serving, who walk down the road and they shoot people. They torture the young men and they're still there. We heard of senior ranks giving instructions, shoot to kill, and those instructions were carried out, and they're still there. And so the Guyana Police Force, and let me qualify my statement. It's not all of them, but the rogue ones who
Yes.
are being sheltered because they got other things to do, for people like Jagdio and them. And there's no qualms about this, because we see when there are issues, especially if there are issues in Afro-Guyanese areas, we see the operation of the Guyana Police Force. If I can take you back, and I mean, I'm going long-winded, but we have to understand this. If I can take you back to what transpired at Bath Settlement in 2020, when residents were injuring police officers, when they broke the windscreen of the school bus and injured school
Mhm.
children, Nobody said that was political. And you saw the actions of the police. Then the police had to be running helter-skelter for safety themselves. But here now, this is what we are having. And so the Guyana police force, it's not the organ that we need to have at this time, or the organization that we need to have, or the arm that we need to have, which says you are supposed to protect and serve. This arm here is to shoot, to kill, to injure, and to cover up. And we've got to wipe that out. But as a mother, you know, Mervyn, I get very, very agitated. I get very angry because as a mother, I am trying to figure out from Thursday to now, what were the last thoughts of Adriana? What were, I'm trying to figure out, was she screaming, no, don't do this to me, please stop, daddy, mommy, what were this? I am tired of this. And if we don't end this now, we are going to get into much more darkness.
I want to share a bit of this. I hope that it can be audible. I'm not sure it is.
Since Monday with a friend who invite me to, right? On the same day when they all came to swim at the pool, I was also in the pool of swimming. So I saw the earlier in the afternoon. I saw when the grandmother was came and asking for the little girl, you know? They were saying that they didn't know what these things. Anyway, the night everybody came out and it was crowded outside. So I was telling the guy that, you know, we need to move from here, you know, and do things because they say it looks so nice. Anyway, the night, like, late long at night, I came outside to get some fresh air. And I see a guy who was, you know, walking up and down, like, you know, I didn't think nothing really. Anyway, I heard a scuffle, like, two room away from my room. So that was room 135, right? But normally, you know, you just hear things in the hotel, but you just say, like, you know, this part is scuffling. So I hear the scuffling all the time, like, and I hear a scream. So I was asking the same person that with me, you hear the person scream your phone? He said no, right? Anyway, I didn't sleep the whole night because after the coffee outside, you know, I didn't sleep the whole night. Anyway, I looked through the window because where we were on the front, you could see everything, right? And I saw this young man was dragging this child, right? I called my parents to come and see. Oh, they was dragging the child by her foot to the other room, right? And there was this Indian guy, and they see him from the face and they from behind. And they pour on the child and take her into the other room. Anyway, my friend took out his phone and he started videoing, right? But we didn't get to video the whole thing. Anyway, they put her in the other room. So while the people was arguing outside, they had the child in the other room. Which indeed, that the older lady said, there was a bin because indeed there was the bin there that the taker was in yellow bin that they take and they put her in, right? And the same man early when everybody was about doing the whole thing, I used to feel it put the child in the pool, but I didn't see when they put the child in the pool, but I saw everything was upstairs. Right? And I'm scared, I don't know, I'm very scared to meet out to those people and to meet out to the police because I'm scared for my life and my family life. And I don't need anybody to come looking for me and my family.
Fear dominates. Now, here's an account of everything that this person alleges having seen and heard. Juxtapose that against the police initial report that said that this child was seen in video footage getting into a car outside the hotel. And ask yourself if it is that the police were misled by a fabricated bit of footage, or if it is that the police participated in the concoction. Ask yourself whether none of that is true, and that it was a fabrication at the level of the police corporate public relations unit, which is known for giving information that it cannot stand behind. Whatever it is, that is what caused the confusion. Because that bit of release from the police, as erroneous and misleading as it was, is what angered people who knew that it was not true. The police issuing a statement to the effect that it was not true should have been accompanied by a resignation of the commissioner of police and the entire corporate public relations unit, which is an absolute waste of taxpayers' money, in my humble view. Robin, you heard what this person alleged in that recording. You heard a person fearful for life, fearful for family, because of a system that is viewed as being rogue. Rogue. A system within which there are still good people who continue to stand up, who continue to stand for justice, for fairness, and for what is right. How do you relate to this gruesome situation in the face of a system that is clearly rigged against bringing justice to the citizens of this country?
I totally understand where the young lady is coming from. Fear. That is what the government and the Guyana police force has driven into people. They caused this. This is something. Listen, Mervyn, let me tell you this. When was the protesting, the 2022 protest of Quinlan Bacchus, June 28, that major protest at Golden Grove Village? The police came into the area just as they did with, what area was that? Tushin. Same thing. They came, they shoot up everything. They subsequently charged 11 young men and myself with acts of terrorism. The bails were $300,000 each. Mine was $250,000, right? $250,000. What happened after that? Every protest after that, people started to back away. Because people were afraid. People are afraid. So if you come to a point now where nobody is afraid anymore, if I was the one there with that, noticing and witnessing that, yes, I would have speak out. I would have said something, because I cannot see a child being dragged on the floor as the recording claims and don't say anything. But I have to understand where she's coming from, because she's living in a country where safety is the biggest problem. Your safety as a citizen. You cannot give information to the police officer and nobody else would not know what is happening or what was said or who said so. So it comes now to a point, what are we going to do about this? That is what we need to start thinking about.
Neither do you know.
What are we going to do about this? Do I agree with the fact that I should stay quiet, or should I disagree? Because it's a risk.
Take the risk.
You're my family. This is where this government have us as a nation. They are incompetent. They're not doing what they're supposed to do for the citizens of this country. And if the head is not balanced, where would the shoulder and the remaining of the body go?
All over the
Lima,
place.
this appears not to be so much a case of incompetence. This seemed to be a case of calculated response. Um, and because of its very nature, it appears to be a manifestation of incompetence, but it looks to be, I mean, what we learned on the ground is that um, this was potentially a crime scene, but it wasn't cordoned.
Mhm.
Even after it became a crime scene where the body was found,
It was still not
magically appearing there, it was discovered. It was still not cordoned as a crime scene. There seemed to have been no energy expended in the area of preserving that space for investigation. And it can't be that every policeman present would have missed the fact that there is need for preservation of a scene at which a murder has occurred. What does it look like to you, Nima, from your end? Are you with us, Nima? Can you hear us? Mhm.
Mervyn? Yeah, I heard you. My thoughts on this, listening to the recording, it really bothering me inside. Because I'm saying from the time the grandmother reported to the station, at least that child was alive up to sometime in the night. Had the police taken steps to go and search immediately, oh, it would be so different, you know? And the powers that be have to be held accountable, and they have to understand why people are so angry about this entire situation. Just listening to that alleged eyewitness accounts really boils my blood, because the child parent did what they're supposed to do, reach out to help from the relevant authorities that should have afforded that help. Number of hours it's really devastating, and I pray that we get the justice that is solely deserved.
You
Really,
know,
really pray for that.
this,
These
this,
people have to
yeah, go
pay.
ahead.
It's really
You're coming through very broken there, Nima. But what this reminds us, and it is strange that the Madhya issue seem not to have served as a lesson for us in this country as far as the welfare of children, particularly girl children, is concerned. In the police force, there ought reasonably to be always at the desk a social worker, a counselor. There ought to be police officers trained in the area of domestic violence and treating with children. There appears not to be such officers within the system. I recall some years ago when the PPP was in government, an international agency had trained some people in child care and domestic violence, juvenile handling, and so on. And there was a police officer, a woman police officer, I believe her name was Mitchell. She was the best graduating officer in that program. And you know where they put her? In traffic. in traffic, not trafficking in persons, motor traffic department. The training that that lady benefited from, the mental equipment that she had, the capacity for handling issues that she had, all wasted under the People's Progressive Party. All wasted. So yes, there was an excellent write-up that so many people were trained, so many people were certified, the force is better equipped, but you're putting them to stop car and check for fitness. So there's never been any real care, to borrow Priya Manikchand's favorite word. They never really cared about our children. There's the other incident where a man, I believe he was a man, shot and killed his wife, her mother and sister, and wounded her brother. That he killed himself is of no consolation to anybody. That should have been the first thing for him to do. But you're not getting this across the waves. Is it because these three deceased persons are indigenous Guyanese? I don't know. But it is apparent that that is the problem. Aren't we going to stand for all Guyanese? We lost 3 citizens of indigenous heritage to bullets from a gun fired by a man who was so unhappy with his own life that he took that too. There was no real outrage, but why? We never heard any statements from the government agencies. Mr. Shoot and Scoot said nothing. Mr. Extension said nothing. Even Mr. Bucket Load said nothing. We as a country are in a bad place. The solution to this problem is very simple. Name the date for election, Irfan Ali, and pack your bags.
Exactly.
The people of this country must reject the People's Progressive Party and
Yes.
embrace a government that puts
Yes.
people first. Embrace a government that puts people at the center of its development strategy, at the center of its advancement, at the center of its development at all levels,
Yes.
and reject this government that presides over high numbers of death on the roadway, unsolved murders, including extrajudicial killings, extreme poverty in an oil-rich economy, inequity in the distribution of the resources of the state, discrimination in the award of contracts and opportunities, including scholarships. And this discrimination is along the lines of ethnicity and political affiliation. So there's political and ethnic discrimination in this country. And then there's victimization of people who speak up against the government. I remember people allegedly plotting to kill President Granger. Nobody in their jail. I remember people making Facebook posts about what should happen to David Granger when he was president. No Cybercrime Act was invoked. But one man showed middle finger and ended up in jail when the PPP was in government. A man threw up old boots or a piece of brick or something at Janet vehicle and ended up in the lockup. I stood at Freedom Hoop Junction when Jagdeo was passing in 2026 in the run-up to the election. And I said on a public platform, because it was a public meeting, the sirens were wailing and they were making a lot of noise coming. And I simply said, let's pause for a moment and allow Mr. Jagdeo to pass on his last official visit to Region 3 as president. And I was charged by the ERC for making a statement of ethnic intolerance. And I was threatened by one Ejil, who was this apolitical gentleman associated with no political party. This angel who poured oil in his own head and became a bishop. That I was going to be found guilty, and when I was, I wouldn't be able to hold any office in this country. He told me that there was a recording. I asked him to bring my accuser and bring the recording. You know what he said to me? Is one of y'all own people. I said, what do you mean? It was a black person? In the end, there was nothing against me. Ejel, however, subsequently became a minister of government. That's the PPP for you. And that's the party that you must reject when you go to the polls. So save our children, save our women, save our jobs, save our sanity, ensure security of your people on the roadways, in their homes, in their businesses, and guarantee a better life for all Guyanese, and guarantee shared resources for all Guyanese, and guarantee shared prosperity for all Guyanese. Because for the people of this country to benefit and for this country to grow, the PPP must go.
Amen.
That's all we have time for today on Nation Watch. Thank you very much for joining us, to our various guests and to our viewers and listeners across the spectrum. Until we meet again, God bless.